If you are currently taking amlodipine, one of the most commonly prescribed blood pressure medications in the United States, there are 5 specific things that millions of people on this medication do every single day without realizing that each one is either reducing the effectiveness of their medication, amplifying its side effects to dangerous levels, or quietly creating cardiovascular risks that completely undermine the protection amlodipine is supposed to be providing. Your doctor prescribed this medication because your blood pressure needed to be controlled. But what your doctor likely did not have time to explain in a 15-minute appointment is the specific list of interactions, foods, habits, and combinations that can make amlodipine work against you rather than for you. Today I am going to close that gap completely. Stay with me through every word of this video, because by the end, you are going to understand your medication in a way that most people who have been taking it for years still do not. My name is William Hart, and before I get into the 5 things to avoid, I want to make sure you have a clear and precise understanding of what amlodipine is actually doing inside your body, because that understanding is what makes the 5 things I am about to describe make complete physiological sense rather than feeling like an arbitrary list of warnings. Amlodipine belongs to a class of medications called calcium channel blockers. Here is what that means in plain language. The smooth muscle cells in the walls of your blood vessels require calcium to contract. When those muscle cells contract, the blood vessel narrows, and narrowed blood vessels mean higher pressure. Amlodipine works by blocking the channels through which calcium enters these smooth muscle cells, preventing them from contracting as forcefully. The result is that your blood vessels remain more relaxed and dilated, offering less resistance to blood flow, and your blood pressure drops. Amlodipine also has a secondary effect on the heart itself. By limiting calcium entry into heart muscle cells, it reduces the force and sometimes the rate of the heart's contractions, further reducing the workload on the cardiovascular system. This is an effective, well-studied mechanism. But it is also a mechanism that interacts with specific foods, substances, and behaviors in ways that can either amplify or completely counteract its effects. And those interactions are exactly what I am about to explain. The first and most critical thing to avoid while taking amlodipine is grapefruit and grapefruit juice, and I want to explain this interaction with the precision it deserves, because most people who have heard this warning do not actually understand why it matters, which means they do not take it seriously enough. Your liver contains an enzyme called CYP3A4, which is responsible for metabolizing, breaking down, amlodipine and many other medications after they are absorbed into your bloodstream. This enzyme essentially controls how much of the drug remains active in your system by breaking it down at a regulated rate. Grapefruit, and only grapefruit, not other citrus fruits, contains compounds called furanocoumarins that specifically and powerfully inhibit the CYP3A4 enzyme. When this enzyme is inhibited, your body cannot break down amlodipine at its normal rate. The drug accumulates in your bloodstream at levels significantly higher than your prescribed dose, sometimes 2 to 3 times higher. And when amlodipine reaches 2 to 3 times its intended concentration in your blood, the effects are not just stronger in a beneficial way. They become dangerous. Your blood pressure can drop far below safe levels. You may experience severe dizziness, particularly when standing up from a seated or lying position, a condition called orthostatic hypotension. You may feel extreme fatigue, flushing, rapid heart rate, or even faint. For older adults especially, a sudden severe drop in blood pressure from this interaction is a genuine medical emergency that can lead to a dangerous fall. And here is what makes this interaction particularly treacherous. The effect of grapefruit on the CYP3A4 enzyme does not wear off within an hour or 2. A single serving of grapefruit or grapefruit juice can inhibit this enzyme for up to 24 to 72 hours. That means consuming grapefruit in the morning can affect how amlodipine behaves when you take it that evening, or even the following day. Many people who consume grapefruit regularly as part of what they believe is a heart-healthy diet are unknowingly creating a dangerous medication interaction every single day without any idea that this is happening. If you are on amlodipine, grapefruit in any form, fresh fruit, juice, or any product containing grapefruit extract, must be completely eliminated from your diet. Not reduced. Eliminated entirely. The second thing to avoid is alcohol, and I want to be very specific about why this interaction matters beyond the general advice to drink in moderation. Alcohol has an independent blood pressure lowering effect on the cardiovascular system. It causes blood vessels to dilate and reduces the force of the heart's contractions, which sounds potentially beneficial but is actually dangerous when combined with a medication that is already doing exactly the same thing through a different mechanism. When amlodipine and alcohol are in your system simultaneously, their blood vessel dilating and blood pressure lowering effects compound each other in ways that are unpredictable and can be severe. The most immediate and dangerous manifestation of this compounded effect is a sudden, dramatic drop in blood pressure when you stand up from a seated or lying position, orthostatic hypotension. Your blood pressure drops so suddenly that your brain momentarily does not receive adequate blood flow, causing severe dizziness, lightheadedness, and in some cases, loss of consciousness. For someone already at risk of falls or with compromised cardiovascular function, this is not a minor inconvenience. It is a potentially life-altering event. Beyond the acute interaction risk, regular alcohol consumption also independently raises blood pressure over time, working directly against the therapeutic goal of amlodipine. If you are taking amlodipine, the safest approach to alcohol is to avoid it entirely or limit consumption to very small amounts on rare occasions, and to never consume alcohol around the time you take your medication. The third thing to avoid is excessive heat exposure, and this is an interaction that almost nobody talks about, yet it is one that can produce genuinely dangerous consequences for people on amlodipine, particularly during summer months or in hot climates. Amlodipine causes your blood vessels to remain in a more dilated state as part of its blood pressure lowering mechanism. Heat also causes blood vessels to dilate. It is your body's natural cooling mechanism, moving more blood to the surface of the skin to dissipate heat. When you add the vasodilating effect of heat to the vasodilating effect of amlodipine, the combined result can be a severe drop in blood pressure that is completely disproportionate to what either heat or medication alone would produce. Hot baths, hot tubs, saunas, prolonged sun exposure in high temperatures, and intense outdoor activity in hot weather all carry this risk. The consequences range from dizziness and fainting to heat stroke complicated by medication-induced hypotension. Additionally, heat causes significant fluid loss through sweating, and dehydration compounds the blood pressure-lowering effect of amlodipine by reducing the volume of fluid in the circulatory system. For people on amlodipine, staying well hydrated in warm weather, avoiding prolonged exposure to extreme heat, and being particularly cautious about the combination of heat and physical exertion is essential cardiovascular safety management. If you do engage in activities involving heat exposure, take additional care when transitioning from a hot environment to standing upright, and allow your body time to adjust before moving quickly. The fourth thing to avoid is taking amlodipine at inconsistent times. And while this might sound like a minor logistical point rather than a true drug interaction, the pharmacological reality is that timing consistency with amlodipine matters significantly for both effectiveness and safety. Amlodipine has what pharmacologists call a long half-life. It stays in your system for an extended period and builds to a steady-state concentration over time with consistent daily dosing. This characteristic is actually one of amlodipine's advantages. It provides relatively stable blood pressure control without the dramatic peaks and troughs that shorter-acting medications produce. But this stability depends entirely on the drug being taken at the same time every day. When doses are taken at varying times, or when doses are skipped and then doubled up the following day, the steady-state concentration is disrupted. Blood pressure control becomes erratic. And erratic blood pressure control is, in many ways, more cardiovascular dangerous than consistently elevated blood pressure, because the sudden spikes that occur when medication levels drop, particularly the dramatic morning blood pressure surges that follow inconsistent dosing, are directly associated with elevated stroke and heart attack risk. Equally important, Never take a double dose to make up for a missed one. If you miss a dose, simply take the next scheduled dose at its normal time and continue your regular schedule. Taking 2 doses close together can cause a sudden, dramatic blood pressure drop that is far more dangerous than the missed dose itself. The 5th thing to avoid is combining amlodipine with certain other medications without explicit medical supervision. And I want to be very clear that I am not telling you to stop taking any medication your doctor has prescribed. What I am telling you is that there are specific categories of over-the-counter medications that millions of amlodipine users take without disclosing them to their doctor, not realizing that these combinations have significant cardiovascular implications. The most important category is NSAIDs, non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs including ibuprofen, Advil, Motrin, Aleve, and naproxen. These medications, taken regularly for joint pain, back pain, or arthritis, directly counteract the blood pressure-lowering effect of amlodipine by causing the kidneys to retain sodium and water, increasing blood volume and pressure. Research has shown that regular NSAID use can raise blood pressure by 5 mm of mercury or more in people taking antihypertensive medications, enough to completely negate the therapeutic benefit of a standard amlodipine dose. Beyond NSAIDs, decongestants, including the pseudoephedrine found in many over-the-counter cold and allergy medications, cause blood vessel constriction that directly opposes amlodipine's vasodilating effect and can produce significant blood pressure spikes. Certain antifungal medications, particularly ketoconazole and itraconazole, inhibit the same CYP3A4 enzyme as grapefruit, causing amlodipine to accumulate to dangerous levels. And some herbal supplements, particularly St. John's wort, accelerate the breakdown of amlodipine, reducing its effectiveness at controlling blood pressure. Every medication, supplement, and herbal product you take alongside amlodipine deserves to be disclosed to your doctor and pharmacist, not because they are inherently dangerous, but because the combination may be quietly working against the cardiovascular protection your amlodipine is supposed to be providing. Now let me address the side effects of amlodipine that intersect directly with the 5 things I described. The most common side effect is peripheral edema, swelling in the ankles, feet, and lower legs caused by fluid shifting out of the blood vessels into surrounding tissue as a result of the drug's vasodilating effect. What most people do not realize is that excessive sodium intake causes the body to retain more fluid overall, amplifying the ankle swelling that amlodipine already tends to produce. Prolonged heat exposure causes additional vasodilation that worsens fluid shifting into peripheral tissues. And prolonged sitting or standing without movement reduces the mechanical pumping of the calf muscles that normally helps move fluid back out of the lower legs. If you are experiencing significant ankle swelling on amlodipine, the first line of response before asking your doctor to change medications should be a rigorous review of your sodium intake, your heat exposure, and your movement patterns throughout the day. Many people find that their amlodipine-related swelling reduces significantly with these simple adjustments, without any medication change required. The second common side effect that intersects with today's list is dizziness, particularly the dizziness that occurs when standing up from a seated or lying position. As I explained, amlodipine already has a tendency to cause orthostatic hypotension in some people, and this tendency is significantly amplified by grapefruit consumption, by alcohol, by heat exposure, and by dehydration. If you are experiencing dizziness on amlodipine, eliminating the first 3 items on today's list and ensuring you are adequately hydrated throughout the day should be your first response. Additionally, developing the habit of rising slowly from seated or lying positions, taking a moment to sit on the edge of the bed before standing, or pausing for a few seconds after standing before walking, gives your cardiovascular system time to adjust blood pressure to the new position before you demand balance and coordination from it. I also want to address grapefruit alternatives, because many people who consume grapefruit regularly do so because they genuinely enjoy it and find it beneficial. The primary nutritional benefits of grapefruit, vitamin C, antioxidants, fiber, and hydration, are available from other citrus fruits that do not contain the furanocoumarins responsible for the drug interaction. Oranges, tangerines, clementines, lemons, and limes do not carry the same CYP3A4 inhibition risk as grapefruit. Making this simple substitution eliminates one of the most significant and underappreciated drug interaction risks in cardiovascular medicine without requiring you to eliminate citrus from your diet entirely. The deeper point I want you to take from this video is one that applies far beyond amlodipine specifically. Medication safety is not just about taking the right drug at the right dose. It is about understanding the ecosystem in which that drug operates, the foods, substances, habits, and other medications that interact with it in ways that can either dramatically enhance or dramatically undermine its effectiveness and safety. Your doctor prescribed amlodipine to protect your cardiovascular system. But protecting that protection, ensuring that the medication can do its job as intended, is a responsibility that falls significantly on you, the person who makes daily decisions about what you eat, drink, and take alongside your prescription. The 5 things I described today are not abstract warnings to be noted and forgotten. They are specific, actionable pieces of information that could prevent a serious cardiovascular event, a dangerous medication reaction, or a fall that changes your life. Take them seriously. Share them with the people in your life who are on amlodipine. And bring them to your next doctor's appointment as the basis for a more informed conversation about how to get the most protection possible from the medication you are already taking every single day. If this video gave you information that you know could protect you or someone you love from a serious medication interaction, please hit the like button and subscribe to William Hart Health. Because every single week I am here with the specific, honest, potentially life-saving information about blood pressure and cardiovascular health that most people never hear until it is too late.